Hi Flosstube, good morning. It is Helen D. Today we have a tutorial. I'm going to do a finish using this frame. This is a Bucilla embroidery hoop frame. This is a product that I just found recently. I got mine on Joann's before we had to sadly say goodbye to Joann's. Amazon sells them. Hirschner's sells them. And your needle workshop may be able to get them. So they're put out by Bucilla. They come in a variety of sizes. This one is a 6-inch circle, and it's the beaded circle. This one here I have to show is also a 6-inch, but it's the square. And these are a hoop frame. So on the back, they have a notch that I don't have a hoop the right size. But if you did, this goes in there, and then it would fit right in there. And then it already comes with the points in there, so you can just lift them up to put it in and then fold them down and hold it in place. These are fairly inexpensive. They ranged from, I believe, $6 to $10 depending on the size. They come as small as 3 inches, and I think the largest was 8. So this is what we're going to do today. The piece that I'm going to frame today is Believe by Erin Elizabeth. I stitched mine on a mystery fabric with Weeks Dye Works Twilight. Just ignore this wet spot. I must have had a dirty needle minder because I have a smudge. Luckily it's on the back. I tried to dab it out. It's not coming out. It's fine. It's on the back, but it's still a little wet, so just ignore that. So when I'm ready for the season, I will paint this. But I wanted to get this tutorial out and thought this is a Christmas piece. I can paint it later. So these are like that MDF wood, but you can easily paint them. I don't know how stain would take on them. And this one with the little beads will be a little more difficult than, you know, a solid one. So I will likely paint that. So what I did to kind of get started, I brought this one to show you. So this came with, when I opened it up, on the back, there's just a piece of paper with the information, and you can see it has the paper up where the tab is. I took that piece of paper and I just trimmed off where it had that little tab just to make a circle. It's not perfect. That's okay. There's going to be some overlap. So then I took my new little template and I traced out 2 pieces of mat board and cut them out. One is what I'm going to mount on, and then after it's mounted, I'm going to use the other one to kind of hold it in place and put my points on it, because I think I'll need a little extra in there. I think it's going to be a little loose because this is meant to fit a hoop. I'm not finishing on a hoop today. Generally, I don't finish on hoops because I find the circles easier. And the reason is, if you finish on a hoop, you've got to get your piece, whoops, you're up here. You've got to get your piece pretty straight so that when you put the top of the hoop in here, it's not crooked. If you do it on a circle, if you're crooked, you just turn it. So that's my reasoning. Some people finish on hoops and find it super easy, so it's honestly whichever works best for you. So I have my mat board, I have my piece. What I'm going to do first is take and put some batting on my mat board. It just kind of helps you move the piece around and give it a little bit of a puffier look, I guess. This is Scor Tape, S-C-O-R. It's a double-sided acid-free tape. And I'm just going to put that on there to hold my batting to make it a little easier to cut around. So I have just a little tiny piece left of this piece of batting. This happens to be Warm and Natural. It's what I have. So I'm just going to stick that right on there. And then I usually cut around it to make it easier, so I'm not trailing this big piece. And then I can come in and trim this. So I'm just going to hold it up and trim around it. Again, if it's not ideally perfect, that's okay. And for the mat board, I just use scissors. I kind of do this where when I'm cutting, I'll then cut off to the side to get rid of some of the extra. And I find that that helps me get it in close enough of a circle. So there's that. So now, just like any other circle finish that I would do, I'm going to take my piece, and I have to kind of hold this up to the light so I know you don't really see it. I'm just going to try and center that, a rough centering, because we'll wiggle it around later. So I've got my rough centering. I'm going to come in and just trim these corners off a bit so we don't have as much extra. In a rough circle. It's very rough. So then I'll take my giant doll needle and some thread, and I like to use, the label's not on this one, I like to use this Americana quilting thread because it is sturdy. It's glazed cotton, but it's tough. It's tough stuff. Unfortunately, I got that at Joann's, so I'm not sure when I run out what I will do, but I bought several spools before my store ran out. So thread that needle. I'm going to take this off. There's my dirty spot again. And I'm just going to do a rough running stitch around the edge. I like to start from the bottom or the good side and then just take like 1/4 inch all the way around, because we're just going to cinch this on our circle. So again, this is the exact same way I would finish any circle piece. And I leave my thread right on the spool until I'm done. That way I don't have to worry about trying to measure the right size, the right length. I do try not to poke myself. Sometimes I'm better at that than others. Whoops, see, I said that and I just got myself. Some of mine might be over 1/4 inch. It all works out. So coming around this back side, and once I meet back up to where I started, I also like to end so that my thread is coming out. So they're both coming out the same side, because that just makes it easier when I'm pulling it. So now I'm going to switch to my smaller needle. Take the end of my thread, and I'm just going to tie this one off so I can only have one edge that I'm working with. So I'm just going to go under my cloth a little bit so I can get in there and make a knot. I'll make a couple knots to tie this off. So now I can trim off this one and not have to worry about it. So then I have to open this back up because it got all squished. And then take my circle and pop it in there. I must have a knot right here because there's this big piece of loose. Oh, that's where we started and stopped. Well, we won't worry about that then. So tuck this in there. I'm just making sure that the batting doesn't curl up. Now, I'm not even going to worry about the centering yet. I'm just going to pull it and then kind of turn it over and see what we have. And what we have needs work. So now I can kind of maneuver it around. If I have to do a full undo it, redo it, that's fine. But I can kind of maneuver it around, pull it again, and get it so that it is centered. I'm just eyeballing it. You can measure if you want to really get it centered. But I think for a start, that's pretty good. So now I am going to take and really unroll some of this, because now I need to tighten this up on the back. So I'm going to take my needle again, the small one, and this is where I try not to make a bunch of knots. So I'm just going to zigzag back and forth to try and really pull this tight and get it on there. Let me get a couple and then I can show you. Okay, so I come up and I just kind of just take a little bite from one of my sides, pull it through. I have to be careful once I get going that I've got extra thread, that I keep it going. And I just do opposites. So you're kind of making a star, but I just will keep going around and around and around until I feel like it's not very bumpy. And as I'm doing this, I spin it around every once in a while and check the front to make sure things are still where I want them. If there's any glaring spots that look like they need to be pulled tight, I want to make sure I hit that. So I will keep going until I run out of floss, and then if I need more floss, I'll just start a new one, knot it on there somewhere, and keep going around. My mat board was a little bent. If you're noticing that this looks a little concaved, you're right. My mat board happened to be a little bendy from where I had it in the closet. But it will flatten out. So that's still looking pretty centered. I think I have enough for just one more. I'm just looking to see if there's any spots I haven't really done. All right, I'm going to come up here. It's my last one. And then again, I will just kind of go back through the fabric a little and go in my loop so that I can pull a knot, and I'll do that a couple times. And that's it. That's why I love circle finishes. So that is that. Now, if you were to have finished in a hoop, again, I've never finished in a hoop, but you just open it as usual. You know, put it on there, tighten it up, and then you can go around the back this same way to kind of hold everything in. So we have that. Now we're just going to go over to our frame, turn it over. It doesn't matter what side this is on. I'd already bent the little prongs up. Pop that in. Pop in my back piece. Fold those down. Done. And before you put the back piece on, or even now, like if you don't think your spacing is quite right, I think there's probably enough room. I should have done this before I put the things down, that you can wiggle it around a little to really get it where you want it. Get up there. So if I think mine right, I can try and tug it as much as possible from one side to another, and then put the things in. And then the one last thing I'm going to do with this frame, I don't intend on hanging it, right? You can hang it from this little bit, but mine will probably be standing. So I grabbed, I have these picture frame backers that I found on Amazon. I can put a link below to the ones that I bought, but there's tons of different ones. So they come with a sticker. I'm going to put the sticker on here. I'm going to put this so it's on the back of this extra mat board, and then it will basically become an easel. Now, because I already have it in here, I will try to do it so it's right side up, but again, I could just twist this if it's not. So I'm going to take the sticky part off, kind of line it up with the back, with the bottom, and then just stick it on there. So now I will have to turn this because it's completely not straight. Now that will stand up on its own. I know it's kind of off-centered for you, but now it has the little easel in the back so that it will easily just stand up on its own, or you can hang it if you want. And I'm done. That was lickety split. And honestly, this is so close that you can't even really see my dirty spots, so that's good. I hope that was helpful. I will put a link. I'll put a link for these. I will put probably the Hirschner's link for the frames. A list of what I used. The Scor Tape I can throw a link on. Just anything that you think might be helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know. But like I said, I will likely paint this when the time comes. I don't know what color, maybe a dark blue. But I thought these frames were a great, affordable way to buy one piece. You can use it for your piece and then take that piece out. Like this is a winter piece. If I had a spring piece or a summer piece, I usually store my stitching separate, and then my frames and stuff I can reuse for multiple things. So, hope this was helpful. Bye.